Yeah, I don't think I could do the 70th. Definitely haven't been around long enough, but Ben has been with the club for a very long time, and that's definitely important to remember, you know, where we've been, where we've come from, along with where we're going, and Ben Kiningham is going to give that presentation.
Thank you. We took the memory stick out of there, so I'm going to have to read the script. It's an honor to be here, and back in the 1950s, I never realized I'd be back talking over 60 years later to a wonderful group of people. This club has contributed to many, many special activities over the 7 decades, and right now there are over 120 members, and SVRC is counting. That is pretty amazing. We've had awesome monthly speakers, as you know. Craig Thompson, K9CT, was here with us before his trip on the D-Expedition to Bouvet. They got within a mile, and I hope we get him back to talk about how that trip went the rest of the way to South America. SVRC Elmers train, give license tests after offering technical ham skills, FCC rules through classes. Then there's a little tree over here. If you had an Elmer, they want your call and a tree on it. Or the member of your Elmer, mine was here and did amazing things, and I'll talk a little about it in a minute. Amateur Radio Emergency Services, SVRC hosts 2 amateur radio nets, one for women, and SVRC maintains multiple repeaters, digital and FM. W9DUA's website, svrc.org, has a very new feature, QSL card displays. I've got 3 of them on there, and I think you guys, where's yours? Working W9DUA and special events and over the years and at the state fair has been pretty amazing. But being part of it, on scene, helping, is amazing. SVR Radio Hamfests. I go back a long ways when K9QFR got permission to get them started over at the New Berlin Sangamon County Fairgrounds. And then they moved to the state fairgrounds. SVRC has 7 types of memberships, and details are on the svrc.org website. One final note before I get rambling. Big time. ARRL field days, summer and winter. I'll be sharing some old photos and show how our ham radio hobby has changed. So let me do some recollection. Before I start the slides, a few more thoughts. Way back in November of 1948, in Chicago, the NHL All-Stars beat Toronto 3-1. Will Rogers' picture went on a 3-cent U.S. postage stamp. In November of 1948, a U.S. balloon set a new height record of 42.7 kilometers. The very first Polaroid went on sale for $89.75. And most importantly to us, while Hopalong Cassidy hopped onto television, we hopped on the radio. The Sangamon Valley Radio Club in Springfield, Illinois was born. That was November 1948. Let's jump a year. March of 1949. The Brown owners of Sportsman's Park moved to evict the Cardinals. The very first street light in America was turned on in New Milford, Connecticut. Hear that, ARRL? And the new Sangamon Valley Radio Club joined the American Radio Relay League in March of 1949. We wonder if any of the ARRL RF blew across Connecticut to help turn on that first street light. We won't, well, maybe we'll find out someday. In the mid-1950s, the Sangamon Valley Amateur Radio Club was holding a novice code test at the local library, and guess who went? Buzz Lund, W9KQL, gave that test, looked at my results, scratched his head, and said, "Well, I'll see you next year." What? Well, how'd I do? You learned the original railroad Morse code. You need the international Morse code for a ham radio license. This sad 7th grader opened a 1920s book of knowledge that he got from his grandpa, and there on the next couple of pages was the international Morse code I needed for a 5-word-a-minute code test. During that new learning period in 8th grade in high school, I got involved in the Sangamon Valley Amateur Radio Club, which was over in the Red Cross building at that time, with an awesome ham radio station, W9DUA. Now it's time to really talk about things that are important. That's an older K9IDQ QSL. You can see my other two and the new one if you go to the website, SVRC.org. Well, who am I? I am you. I'm you. Because the Sangamon Valley Radio Club opened the door to the big radios of the American Red Cross, antennas high above, but more importantly for us young kids, we got learning and fellowship. The American Red Cross building at 6th and Scarrett Street south of downtown was only blocks from the cathedral, Franklin Life, and my father's office, which was then the Illinois Tuberculosis Association. Outside, take a look at that. The Roan 45 tower had a good antenna atop it, and just left of the glass porch, there's a basement door. That door led to the W9DUA ham radio room, the Shack. Back then, licensed amateurs to the radio club could have a key. While we kids loved to learn about the radios and what they could do, the radios played an important role of that day for emergencies, especially floods and tornadoes, just like they do today. The earthquakes could be felt here, but many were way down in southern Illinois. So, this young ham did mostly CW at speeds 25 to 30 words a minute, or faster. I think his name was Tom Krushka, and he was a W9Z call when I was just getting into the hobby. And you may know this next dude. Let's take a look, make sure who that is. Oh, kind of a young guy. Well, as you know, I rarely operated W9DUA until I got a higher class license, let's look at the gear. The Collins KWS1 CW, you can see it right here, down here on the floor too. That's a kilowatt transmitter and a SP600. That was an awesome receiver for its day. Those headphones worked well long before Bob Heil came to talk to the SVRC. Below it, a Model 15 radio teletype repeater. Now I'm going to go to another photo here. This photo shows a Collins receiver used before the SP600. Left to right, I think that's Jimmy Churchill, K9 Hogs, Dogs, Zebras, K9 HDZ. Ed Metzger, W9 PRN, who would have been my mentor of the time, and my cousins. Ed, by the way, gave half his life as a volunteer section manager, vice director, and ARL director for the 9 call area. That other fella down there, Ben Kiningham Jr., K9 Mighty Fat Zombie. That's my dad. He got licensed after I did. Larry Sente, W9 BVN, they posed for an official photo. That's the second operating position. AM phone or CW with the radios rarely used, but they sure worked good back in those days. Most of you know that operator, Lucille Falzone, W9 KMD. What a wonderful lady. As a matter of fact, a whole family. Her phonetics, W9, Kiss Me Daddy. She and her husband, Pat Falzone, W9MCE phonetics, Whiskey 9, Money Comes Easy. They lived over at the east side of Springfield. They were active on the radio club, especially events. Pat was a barber, one of several Springfield ham radio barbers. And from their home QTH, they loved talking to Italians in Italy. Sometimes we couldn't understand what they were saying, but that was back in the 50s and 60s. I mentioned him a little earlier. He's the ham that gave me the first and second exams. And before this meeting, I emailed a number of folks from that time period. His son, Tom Lund, N9PFC, who took his dad's call when he passed. Tom lives over in Champaign. He reminded me that he was a young kid way back then. Some SVRC folks called him Terrible Tommy. I think that's enough said. I'm not sure who this is. I think it's Bob, W9PPM. Pistol Packin' Mama. I don't think that fits, but it was good phonetics for the code testing class, and they did a good job. Here's your typical 40, 20-meter AM mobile antenna of the day. You know, look at that car. Not much has changed. Antenna-wise, on these bands for mobiles, today it's 2 meters. That really hadn't taken off yet. The W9MCE license plate shows ownership to Pat Falzone, W9MCE, Lucille's husband, W9KMD. Well, think about one of the most important events this radio club has ever done. Field Day. Field Day is annual, and it's just as important, if not more important today. From the moment I was admitted into the SVRC, I found Field Day to be a major fun, family, and operator event. Of course, there was the Illinois State Fair and numerous other activities, picnics and programs. Even way back then, everything was emergency power. Think about it. I'm not sure about the folks in the photo, but I believe on the left is Charlie Barber, W9YJF, Marion Hill, W9UYP, one of the first big 6-meter operators in the area. And I'm not sure who the folks are behind the picnic table. John Satterley, K9LLU. A footnote about his dad. He was, I think, K9LLT. His dad had a twin out, and they were adopted, and he had a twin out in California that was adopted by the Copley family, the folks that then owned the State Journal and the State Register for whom he worked. Like I said, all a ham. Now, many old-timers remember and respect Tom Musat, W9EBY, Mr. CW at every SVRC field day. And that's over the decades and decades and decades. That is his homebrew CW rig. He made lots and lots of contacts, and yes, in later years at the Illinois State Fair field day location, late in the evening, I gotta say this, Mr. K9CIS, Frank Wiesenmeyer, K9CIS, one of my early mentors, set off firecrackers under Mr. CW. Frank got chased to his dad's car and let himself in. I don't think Professor Frank is here. I did invite him. He could tell you about it. Seems like his dad's car got some flat tires. We better move on. Field day was fun, and this is an interesting photo because the young man bending over, W9GEG, Ed Proctor, now W4 down in Florida, and I chat with him. And the young man keeping the log, they were the co-founders of the oldest still operating 2-meter repeater in Springfield, WA9KRL. John Sams is still the licensee. In the middle, the late Steve Hoff, W9KKC, who left Davenport, Iowa, to work at Sangamon. I believe this field day site was over on a farm near the golf course near Riverton. Field day antennas, especially verticals and dipoles, were the radio magic antennas of the day, verticals and dipoles. And back in the 1950s and 60s, they were hot thanks to the 11-year cycle for signal skip. Left to right, Steve Hoff, KKC, Jimmy Churchill, HDZ, we think, and John Sams, WA9KRL. Now, I got to go into a story on this next picture. Quite a young man. That's John Sam's little brother, Mike, WA9KRK. He's now a silent key. He was a wonderful piece of work, and I need to share a sidebar. He was a good operator. We both loved ham radio, and when he was at ASU, Arizona State University near Phoenix, I had dropped out after a commander's conference in the Air Force, and I stopped by for a visit, and we toured the area, and I said, let's go visit Barry Goldwater's shack. He was a congressman. I had talked to Barry flying back and forth to Washington, D.C. on a few occasions. He was in the airplane, not me. And we pulled up the hill driveway, saw an awesome beam antenna atop a tower on the side of the mountain. Two fellows came running out of that house wanting to know if we were the folks from South Africa. We looked at each other and said, no, we're hams. Oh, the ham shack is over on the other side of the swimming pool. No problems. Those were fun days. In we went. There was an older ham running the troop phone patches from Vietnam and elsewhere. Footnote, Mike did not want to be in the Air Force Air Guard. He was out at ASU, and it was time to get out, and guess what? He enlisted in Phoenix in the medical section of the Air Guard unit and came home to Illinois, the 183rd Medical Clinic, of which I was a member. Not the clinic, but the fighter group. And he just smiled as he gave me a bunch of medical shots. Mike went on to fly F-4Cs and F-4Ds. He relocated to a Kentucky air base prior to retirement where he had married, and we better keep moving. W9 Field Day Ops made the most of everything. Tents, gas, and diesel generators. Yes, an awesome test for the American Red Cross generators' readiness preparedness. We actually couldn't get one to start one year. A big old Red Cross diesel. Now think about this. What are we going to do? Well, we used other generators, but we actually couldn't get this one to start at a later Hamfest, and that field day preparedness paid off because if needed for an emergency, the unit would not have been sent. Yes, and the Red Cross was happy to replace it. Make use of what we have. We do it today and we did then. One tent, two picnic tables. Hey, that equals a dual option. And yes, all from gas or diesel-powered electric generators. I'm going to take you to a super mobile field day operator. This is from long, long ago. You're looking out the back end about this period. Oh, think about it. In the 50s and 60s, all tubes, no transistors, big, heavy radios, fuel generators, very few big batteries at that time. And yes, we still use vertical and horizontal antennas today. We still use radios. But now, some are a lot smaller. What have I got on my belt here? Oh! A walkie-talkie, so to speak. Well, the point is, today we've got digital radios using sun power, computers, cell phones, all kinds of new things. But I want to mention the most important aspect of field day, the most important aspect. Good human operators. Now, fellow operators can step in when they need a break. Hopefully not on you. Field days have had a great benefit in preparing for emergencies from day one. Multiple field day ops can practice emergency communications, see where the radios will take them. It's a great benefit in the time of an emergency. And I want to give you a final thought. We take small note of time till it is gone. And then we look backwards. We can scan the past for worthy deeds and honors we've won. Now, you'd think I'd be wrapping this up, but I got one more thing here. I want to thank you, Sangamon Valley Radio Club, for all that you have allowed me to learn, to do, to help. Print a Shack Shorts newsletter for the club on my own dime for a couple of years. Be prepared for floods and tornadoes. And that opened the door for a minor in electronics, a major in broadcasting with over 50-plus years in radio and television. Something about that transistor scared me in the Air Force, and anyway, I still program 1610 radio up at Abe Lincoln's New Salem Historic Site from the Ham Shack. I still love learning about our hobby, helping others, making around 1,000 radio contacts a year. And with that, it's time to say thank you and many, many more happy anniversaries. 73s and 88s.
Thank you very much.
Da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da, da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da. What do you hear over the air? CQ serenade. So you don't know just what it means. Dust your shoes off, shake out your jeans. Get on your feet, jump to the beat of CQ serenade. CQ has gone and brought us a new rhythm that's swinging all the cats by the ear. Let's do ourselves a favor and get with 'em. You'll find you get the message, man, you'll hear it coming loud and clear. Doesn't matter what words you sing, just remember the beat's the thing. Get on the beam, carry the theme of CQ serenade. Da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da, da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da. What do you hear over the air? CQ serenade. Amateurs on the radio picked it up and then made it grow, spread it around, swelling the sound of CQ serenade. From India, a call to the USA. I'm reading you, you're coming through fine. From Canada to France and the old UK, for when it comes to radio, the world's one great big party line. Tune in anywhere on the band, any corner of any land. Let's put it there, right on the air with CQ serenade. Da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da, makes a fella feel la-di-da when he unbends, making new friends with CQ serenade. It really doesn't matter at all, CQ, how smooth you make the signals combine. And anyone can answer the call, CQ, just make with a receiver and get on the CQ party line. Take your cue from the radio, even beatniks go do-de-do. It's everywhere, filling the air, that CQ serenade.